allegiance, and please remain standing for the invocation to be delivered by Pastor Bishop Wood from the United Methodist Church. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please remain standing.
Okay. Will you join your heart with mine? God of justice and mercy, thank you for the gift of life and the opportunity to serve the people of our city. Help us to act with character and conviction. Help us to listen with understanding and goodwill. Help us to speak with compassion and restraint. Give us a spirit of service. Remind us that we are stewards of your authority. Guide us to be the leaders your people need. Help us to see the humanity and dignity of those who disagree with us, and to treat all persons, no matter their ability, age, gender, or socioeconomic status, with the reverence your creation deserves. And finally, Holy One, renew us with the strength of your presence and the joy of helping to build a community worthy of every human person. We ask this confident in your goodness and love. Amen.
Would the clerk please call the roll?
Yes. Councilor Bay.
Here.
Councilor Green. Here. Councilor Bernard.
Here.
Councilor Wall.
Here.
Councilor Carter. Councilor Holden. Here. Councilor Joe.
Here.
Here.
Councilor Christmas.
Here.
With the exception of Councilor.
May I have a motion to approve the minutes of the July 12th meeting? May I have a second? Please call the roll.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Are there any petitions?
No, Madam President.
Are there any committee reports? Are there any communications?
Yes, there are, Madam President. I have a communication from myself to you. Pursuant to New York State Municipal Home Rule Law, I laid upon the desk local law on July 21st, 2021, at 11:15 a.m. to authorize funding for the police contract, making this local law eligible for vote at the August 2nd, 2021 regular meeting. From the Honorable Nader City Auditor of the Cash and Investment Audit from July 2020 through September 2020. From the New York State Development Corporate General Plan for Crouse Hospital Chemical Dependency Treatment Capital Project, public hearing will be held August 12th, 2021 at 2:30 p.m. in the State Office Building, hearing room B. From the Empire State Development General Project Plans for the Onondaga County MBT Stadium Renovation Capital Project, the public hearing will be held August 13th, 2021 at 2:30 State Office Building, hearing room B. From Onondaga County Water and Protection Department, a letter acknowledging receipt of ordinance number 355 of 2021, accepting terms and conditions of that ordinance. That's it.
Councilor Hogan in place of Councilor Carney.
Thank you, President Hudson. I have the local law, A. I'd like to introduce an urgent adoption.
Thank you. Local law item 8A. Are there any objections? Discussion? Please call the roll.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
I have item 9 and I will withdraw. Councilor Bennett.
Thank you, Madam President. Items number 10 through 12. Item number 10 will be held. Item number 11 and 12 are ready. I'd like to introduce them both. Urge their adoption.
Item 10 is being held. Item 11. Are there any objections? Discussion? Please call the roll.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Item 12. Are there any objections? Discussion? Please call the roll.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Thank you, Madam President. I have items 13 through 17. I'd like to introduce them and urge their adoption.
Item 13. Are there any objections? Discussion? Please call the roll.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous.
Item Discussion? Please call the roll.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous.
Item 15, are there any objections? Discussion? Please call the roll.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous.
Item 16, are there any objections? Discussion? Please call the roll.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous.
Item 17, are there any objections? Discussion? Please call the roll.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Yes, thank you, Madam President. I have item 18 through 47. We're withdrawing items 23 and 24. We also were withdrawing items, holding items 40 and 41, withdrawing items 42, and holding items 43 and 44. All the rest are, I'd like to introduce and urge their adoption.
Item 18, are there any objections? Discussion? Please call the roll.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous.
Item 19, are there any objections? Discussion? Please call the roll.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous.
Item 20, are there any objections? Discussion? Please call the roll.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Item 21, are there any objections? Discussion? Please call the roll.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous.
Item 22, are there any objections? Discussion? Please call the roll.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous.
Item 25. Are there any objections? Discussion? Please call the roll.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous.
Item 26. Are there any objections?
26 is out.
Discussion? Please call the roll.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous.
Item 27. Are there any objections? Discussion? Please call the roll.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous.
Item 28. Any objections? Discussion? Please call the roll.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous.
Item 29. Are there any objections? Discussion? Please call the roll.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous.
Item 30. Are there any objections? Discussion? Please call the roll.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous.
Item 31. Are there any objections? Discussion? Please call the roll.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Item 32. Are there any objections? Discussion? Please call the roll.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous.
Item 33. Any objections? Discussion? Please call the roll.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous.
Item 34. Are there any objections? Discussion? Please call the roll.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous.
Item 35. Are there any objections? Discussion? Please call the roll.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous.
Item 36. Are there any objections? Discussion? Please call the roll.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous.
Item 37. Are there any objections? Discussion? Please call the roll.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous.
Item 38. Are there any objections? Discussion? Please call the roll.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous.
Item 39. Are there any objections? Discussion? Please call the roll.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous.
Item 40, 41 being held. 42 is withdrawn. 43 is discussion. Please call the roll.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
6, are there any objections? Discussion?
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous.
Item 47, are there any objections? Discussion? Please call the roll.
All in favor? Opposed? It's unanimous.
Councilor Hogan.
Thank you, President Hudson. I have items 48 through 52, and I'd like to introduce them and urge their adoption.
Item 48, are there any objections? Discussion?
Madam President, may I? We can't hear you.
No public input on this one. Oh, you say, you hear me? I'm sorry. And Pat Hogan, you pushed your button.
Yes, I did. I'd like to speak.
Discussion? Yes.
Thank you very much, President. I'd like to address this issue as far as the infrastructure goes. Being a former Parks Commissioner, I've seen a lot, and the infrastructure, the importance of trees, the infrastructure, urban infrastructure of the city is undeniable. Trees add in water retention, air quality, and environmental health concerns. Our arborist, who also represents the county, Steve Harris, has a very interesting video presentation where it shows that tree canopies and how it affects the temperatures in certain neighborhoods. And it shows a stark contrast between our wealthier neighborhoods and our poorer neighborhoods. So I applaud the administration on this, spending $2 million, and my fellow colleagues on the council for recognizing this, because we're all city residents. I've run city parks programs in a lot of these neighborhoods, and I can, believe me, I can attest to sometimes the temperature changes in these neighborhoods, the ones that have trees and ones that don't have trees. So in saying this, I am going to dedicate a poem to all our city parks people. It's a poem that was written by a man by the name of Alfred Joyce Kilmer. He was referred to as Joyce Kilmer. You might have heard it before, in 1913. I think I shall never see a poem as lovely as a tree whose hungry mouth is pressed against the sweet earth's flowing breast, a tree that looks at God all day and lifts her leafy arms to pray, a tree that may in summer wear a nest of robins in her hair, upon whose bosom snow has lain, who intimately lives with the rain. Poems are made by fools like me, but only God can make a tree. Mr. Kilmer wasn't a fool. Mr. Kilmer was a hero of the Republic. Mr. Kilmer served with Rainbow Division in World War I. He was killed at the Second Battle of the Marne. He not only was a patriot, but he knew a lot about trees. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
We're on 48, right?
Yes.
Will we move that or no?
We have to,
Okay,
we have to vote.
objection, discussion, please call the roll.
Yes, ma'am. Item 48, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Item 49, are there any objections? Discussion, please call the roll.
All in favor?
Aye.
It's unanimous.
Item 50, are there any objections? Discussion, please call the roll.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous.
Item 51, are there any objections? Discussion, please call the roll.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous.
Item 52, are there any objections? Discussion, please call the roll.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous.
All righty, and I'm going to ask that the counselors kind of speak into the mics because I don't think we're being heard. Thank you. Counselor Majuk.
Thank you, Madam President. I have item 53 to 62. Already, I would like to introduce them and urge their adoption.
Thank you. Item 53. Are there any objections? Discussion? Counselor Bay?
Thank you, Madam President. Just want to state that on this item, this has been obviously a long-standing discussion for the city. And I think it's very important to acknowledge, first, I think it has to be understood that oftentimes when we as judiciary agents are doing our job, we're accused of doing something different. I'll be voting for this item, but it's very important to understand that I make the argument that the police union did their job in representing their members. I don't believe the administration did its job protecting the citizens. While we understand and certainly agree that it's necessary to have our police department adequately taken care of so that they can perform and equally take care of their families, I think for any of us who, maintain our households or live with our siblings or even roommates or whoever, we're very careful not to make promises or suggestions that we can't sustain, lest we put ourselves in the poorhouse. I think this particular effort initiated did not take into consideration the fact that this may not be sustainable long-term. The very thing that people are making a demand for now, that our police department be filled out, could be contradicted by this in years to come. I would go as far to say 15 to 20 years, that we may not be able to afford our police department at this rate, and will either be forced to downsize or worse, consolidate our police department. And this was the concern that we expressed all along. I certainly believe, I'll speak for myself, that this was not a negotiation to the benefit of the taxpayer. While we certainly, again, need our security and our safety, while we certainly appreciate the work of our officers and their department, and we want them to be secure in their ability to do their job, we have to do our job as well to make those intelligent decisions so not to put the city in such a predicament that there is no police department at all. I think that, I'll reiterate that I think it was counterproductive in that respect. And hopefully, I and many others who think the same will be proven wrong in the years to come. Hopefully our city's position, our financial health will improve in such a way that we can afford what will become our future cost of our police department. But I wanted to state that for the record, Madam President. Thank you.
Would you please call the roll?
Agenda item 53, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Item 54, are there any objections? Excuse me. Discussion? Please call the roll.
All in favor?
Aye. Item 55, are there any objections? Discussion? Please call the roll.
All in favor?
Aye. Item 56, are there any objections? Discussion? Please call the roll.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous.
Item 57, are there any objections? Discussion? Please call the roll.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
It's unanimous.
Item 58, are there any objections? Discussion? Please call the roll.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Item 59, are there any objections? Discussion? Please call the roll.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Item 60, are there any objections? Discussion? Please call the roll.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous.
Item 61, are there any objections? Discussion? Please call the roll.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous.
Item 62, are there any objections? Discussion? Please call the roll.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous.
Thank you. Counselor Allen.
Thank you, Madam President. I have items 63 through 69. Item 63 will be held. 65 is withdrawn. And I'll also hold item 66. All other items are ready. I would like to urge their adoption.
Thank you. Item 63 is being held. Item 64, are there any objections? Discussion? Please call the roll.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Item 65 is being withdrawn. Item 66 is being held. Item 67. Are there any objections? Discussion? Please call the roll.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Item 68. Are there any objections? Discussion? Please call the roll.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Item 69. Are there any objections? Discussion? Please call the roll.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Counselor Hogan.
Thank you for Counselor Carney. Waiver of the rules are required to introduce item 70.
Motion's been made in second. All in favor?
Aye.
President Hudson, I'd like to introduce and urge the adoption of item 70.
Thank you. Item 70. Are there any objections? Discussion? Please call the roll.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Thank you. And with that, we have concluded our meeting. I need a motion to adjourn. Second?
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Adjourn.